Angelic Guides. You do not communicate through words. Today we would like to focus your attention on the topic of communication. There are many at this time who have great difficulty communicating their true beliefs, thoughts, and feelings with those they are closest to. Many believe that in order to communicate they must use words. You have been taught that in order to understand another you must listen, but really you must feel in order to understand. It is our intention today to help shed light on this topic and discuss some of the misconceptions about how one can communicate. The use of language through words have been used on your planet for thousands upon thousands of years. However, know that this was not always the case, nor is it necessary for communication to take place. You may look to the animal kingdom who have not developed a spoken language such as your own, and yet you can watch a flock of birds take off and sink, fish swerve and maneuver through water as one unit, and elephants who communicate their locations to others miles away. Many may argue that animals do communicate through sounds that are natural to them, and we would agree that yes, animals do use sound as one form of communication. However, what we are suggesting is that vocal sounds are not necessary part of communication. Communication is shared through energy, through frequency. Regardless of whether you intend to or not, all beings share their energy with others. The thoughts that you have create a vibration, a specific frequency, which is then perceived by others around you. This is also why you are able to detect if someone is being genuine and authentic in the words they speak. You instinctively pick up on their thoughts and vibrations which the other person is giving off. When a person's words and their thoughts do not match, you can perceive this. This intricate process of translation is all done subconsciously. Just as you do not have to give your heart specific instructions on how to pump blood through your body, you do not have to consciously know how to translate another's frequency in order for you to feel their energy. Another example of your ability to translate energy is the communication that is made between humans and animals. You do not speak the same language, and yet there is a common understanding between a human and their pet. Not because the animal has learned your language, but because animals and humans alike are skilled at perceiving and interpreting the energy around them. However, because the animals have not become reliant upon a spoken language to communicate, their ability to interpret others' thoughts is much more precise. When we send information to our messenger, we are not speaking any particular language, and yet our energy is being translated into the English language. We are simply sending energy, and it is being translated by the pineal gland in the brain into the English language, because that is the language that our messenger speaks. However, it is the heart center that is responsible for perceiving the energy of others. The mind can only translate the energy into the available words that exist within the person's conscious mind. However, the heart can speak all languages. And the speak is in quotes. This is what all of you do when you are communicating. Communicating in quotes. With another being. In many cases, two humans who do not speak the same language can decipher the overall message that is being communicated. Let's take it again. In many cases, two humans who do not speak the same language can decipher the overall message that is being communicated. Not because they can understand the language that is being spoken, but because the words are not what is actually used to communicate. It is the energy that is carried in the words. You do not actually communicate with words. They are simply the vessel that you are using to send and receive messages. Words are simply the carrier of energy. They are not the message themselves. This goes for both written and spoken words. Both simply carry energy. Words in and of themselves are neutral. It is only the energy which you give them that determines the meaning behind them. In the higher realms, there is no need for language to be spoken. Our thoughts are shared instantly with others. We do not choose to remain in a physical reality, and therefore we do not have a physical voice to speak with, nor do we have physical ears to hear with. We perceive our reality in non-physicality. The 5 physical senses are something that humans often take for granted. However, when you return to the higher realms, you will no longer have a physical body beyond the 5th dimension. Without the use of a spoken language, we do not experience the misunderstandings that take place when relying so heavily on a spoken language to deliver our messages. The limits that exist in a spoken language are not able to fully convey all that the heart feels. Many, many arguments ensue on your world, not necessarily because of the differing of opinions, but rather it is the strong desire of each person to be heard and understood. And the heard is in quotes. When everyone can truly understand everyone else on your planet, you will no longer experience the need for war on your world, and the need is in quotes. Your reliance on a spoken language will slowly be replaced by the ability to once again fully communicate through thoughts alone. We find the spoken language to be very constricting, as there are oftentimes no words available that will properly communicate the magnitude of some emotions. The wide depth and array of emotions that you are able to experience in your world cannot be expressed through your words, but rather through the strong energy which you feel and therefore emit for others to perceive. For instance, words cannot truly describe the love that you feel for a child, for your child maybe. Instead, the child feels the love that you have for them. Thoughts are felt, not heard. The spoken language is in many ways limiting for that very reason. It is difficult to fully convey your true feelings with just words. In the higher realms, although there are still different opinions, you are able to fully understand the depth of another's opinion and why they have come to that conclusion. We see the differing of opinions as simply another way to perceive the reality we share. Another's opinion does not negate the validity of our perspective. It simply adds to it. When you no longer rely on a spoken language to communicate, you will actually communicate with one another far more than you have ever before. Humans have long since revered themselves as being more intelligent than other beings. The development of the spoken and written language has been used many times to solidify this argument. However, in developing and relying so heavily on the use of language, you have allowed your natural ability to fully communicate telepathically to deteriorate. Animals, although many have not developed a spoken language, they have maintained their innate ability to communicate their exact emotion and thoughts with one another at an instant. Societies of whales, dolphins, apes and elephants are just some of the animals who have developed a form of vocal language. However, it is never a necessity for them in order to communicate. Rather, it is simply a preference that they can use at will. Each human is born with the ability to fully communicate their every thought and feeling without the use of a spoken language. Just as each human is also born with the innate ability to perceive the thoughts and feelings of others around them. This ability is usually not cultivated, and over time, with the introduction of spoken language, which they then become so heavily reliant on for all means of communication, the ability fades. However, know that it never fully goes away. It simply weakens because it is not used. Although few have kept the conscious ability to communicate telepathically in its fullest capacity, all of you have the ability to detect the energy in another being. A person does not need to speak for you to perceive that they are angry, sad, happy, or at peace. You are able to discern another's overall emotion simply by being in their presence. There will once again come a time when humans will not need to speak to another to convey their thoughts. Rather, it will simply be a preference that they will sometimes partake in, yet it will no longer be necessity. As you continue to expand your consciousness and regain your abilities which have lied dormant within you, we ask you to remember that words are not the message. They are simply just the vessel which is used to carry the message. To listen is to simply hear the words which one speaks, yet to understand another, you must open your heart. To listen is to simply hear the words which one speaks, yet to understand another, you must open the heart. That is where true communication lies. We hope that this message has in some way served you. In love and light, we are your Angelic Guides. Copyright 2012-2013 by Taryn Angelicguides.wordpress.com